The stories of Vikram Behdal. The story of Pratap Sen. Long, long ago, there was a bodyguard to the king of the Magadha. His name was Pratap Sen. He was a reliable and dependable person. He got a lot of respect towards the king. He was a great soldier. One day, Pratap Sen was returning to his house from the king's palace. It was midnight and was completely dark. Pratap Sen was walking alone on his way. He found a woman weeping loudly. Pratap Sen went to her to know the reason for her grief. Though he walked fast, he could not meet her. Finally, she entered into a temple. Pratap Sen followed her, but he could not find her in the temple. So he thought she must be the goddess Durga. Then he said, "Oh mother, you are the almighty of this land. Please tell me the trouble you got. What type of help can I do for you? Please order me." At that moment, he heard a voice from some unknown source. "Pratap Sen, I am not in danger, but your king is going to die tomorrow. That's why I am weeping," said the voice. Pratap Sen prayed to the unknown voice and asked him to tell the way to save the king. Then the voice replied, "There is a way. Hear me. You are a faithful servant to your king. If you agree to cut your son into two halves in my presence, then your king will be out of danger." Pratap Sen was very happy. He had a 12 years old son. He determined to save his king. So he went to his house. He convinced his wife. The spies of the king observed Pratap Sen going to his house after coming out from the temple. So they followed him. They hid themselves at a corner and heard the conversation of the couple. Pratap Sen told his wife, "We have to save our king. The king is more important than our son. Let us sacrifice our son to the goddess and save the king." His wife felt bad in mind, but she did not express it on her face. "We will do as you like. What you said is right. If the king's life depends upon our son, we have to sacrifice our son," his wife replied. They sent the same news to the king. One of the spies was observing the scene. Then they got their son woke up and told him their opinion. Their son said, "We are living at the mercy of the king. I am ready to die for the sake of our king." So Pratap Sen took him to the temple. His wife also accompanied him. After 2 minutes, the king came there. The spy said, "Your Majesty, Pratap Sen has gone to the temple with his son and wife." The king went to the temple and was observing them. Pratap Sen prayed Goddess Durga and put vermilion on his son's face. Then he said, "Oh mother, I am offering you my son willingly. Please accept him and save my king from the danger." Saying so, he cut off the head of his son. His wife could not see that scene, hence she too killed herself with a sword. Pratap Sen could not find any meaning in his life after the death of his son and wife. He said loudly, "Oh mother, please save my king. Please keep up your word." Then he stabbed himself and died. The king, who was observing all this, said to himself, "Oh, what a faithful servant I got. Can I get a man like him again? How can I repay him? Is there anything more than in life than getting a faithful servant like him? Living without him is of no use." So he lifted his sword to kill himself. Then the goddess Durga appeared before him and said, "O king, don't be in haste. I know both of you are faithful to each other. I wanted to test it. In this test, both of you passed. I will bring back to their life." Like that, Pratap Sen, his wife, and son were alive again. Then the goddess Durga blessed them with many gifts. Bheda asked, "Vikram, you have heard the story. Now you tell me whose sacrifice is greater." Vikramarka said, "Pratap Sen was a faithful man. There is no doubt in that. Hence, he tried to save the king, but he could not tolerate his wife's death. His wife died due to his son's death. The son wanted to get relieved from his parents' debt, but the king wanted to sacrifice his life for the sake of Pratap Sen's family. Hence, the king's sacrifice is great." As the king spoke out like that, Bheta left him and hanged onto the tree again. Vikram went to the tree and took the corpse on his back. He then walked towards the sag's place. The stories of Vikram Bhetal. The story of two parrots. As usual, Vikramarka went to the tree and took Bhetal on his shoulders. Bhetal began to narrate another story. Long, long ago, there was a town by name Homavati. A king by name Kesari was ruling it. He got a parrot which could tell about the things of the past. One day, the king asked the parrot, "Dear, you are able to tell the important incidents that are taking place in the heaven, the earth, and the hell. Go about all the three worlds. Can you tell me where is the lady whom I am going to marry?" The parrot said, "O king, kingdom of Magadha is ruled by Chandralochana. He has a daughter. Her name was Chandravati. She too had a parrot with her. It could also tell about the past, present, and future. It had told her that you would become her husband, so she will become your wife." The king was pleased to hear those words. Then he had sent his attendant to Magadha kingdom to meet the king in relation to his marriage with Chandravati. Chandralochana agreed for the marriage. The marriage was performed happily. It was the night of the nuptials of the couple. On that day, the king and his wife had kept both the parrots in a cage. Then the male parrot had come to the female parrot and talked happily. But the female parrot said, "I don't have faith in men." Then the male bird said, "I too don't have faith in women." Both of them quarreled for some time and went to the king. Later, they explained their problem to him. The female bird told a story in support of its version as follows. There was a town by name Madhurapuram. In that town, there lived a merchant by name Dharmadattu. He had a son. His name was Dattu. He lost his parents in his childhood itself. He had all bad habits. He made friendship with cruel fellows. He had spent all the money given by his parents. Finally, he went from country to country to get his livelihood. One day, he went to a town and met Hiranyak, a merchant of that town. He told his story to Hiranyak. He also told him about the business he could do. The merchant was very happy to know his capabilities, so he wanted to keep him as his helper. Afterwards, Hiranyak asked Dattu to marry his daughter. He agreed to it and married his daughter. Dattu had spent some time in his father-in-law's house happily. His father-in-law trusted him. One day, Dattu said, "I came here long back. I want to go and see my relatives. I will show my wife to them and will stay there for a period of 4 days." Hiranyak was happy to hear these words. He asked his daughter to wear all ornaments she had. He had even given him valuable clothes and ornaments. Later, he sent the couple. On the way, Dattu said to his wife, "Look, many thieves are robbing the travelers. So you remove all of your ornaments and give them to me. I will preserve them." His wife had believed his words and gave her ornaments. Immediately after taking the ornaments from her, he had pushed her into a well, went to his town. He lived happily there in the company of prostitutes. But he did not know that his wife was saved. As soon as she was pushed into the well, she cried loudly. The travelers heard her cries and had brought her out from the well. Later, they sent her to her father's place. Like that, she reached to her parents' house. Her parents asked her about Dattu. Then she told that the thieves had looted them. She further said that they had taken away her husband along with them. She thought that her husband would return at any time, so she did not reveal the truth to her parents. Dattu gave the money and ornaments to the prostitutes. Soon he became a beggar. He again wanted to go to his father-in-law's house to get some money. He wanted to tell them that his wife was died due to some disease. With that evil intention, he went there. He found his wife at the front door itself and tried to escape. But his wife stopped him and said, "Don't run away from here. I did not tell my parents about that incident. I told them that you have been kidnapped by them, so they will receive you happily." Dattu could settle there as usual. When the wife was in sound sleep, Dattu killed her and took all their ornaments and escaped from there. Later, he reached his town and lived happily again in the company of prostitutes. But his wife's parents were wept a lot for their daughter's death. "Hence, we should not believe men," said the female pirate. Then the male parrot had narrated the following story in support of its version. Long, long ago, there was a town by name Rakshita. It was ruled by Dharmadattu. Dhanagupta was a merchant of that town. He had a daughter. Her name was Vasumati. Dhanagupta got his daughter married with Samudragupta. Vasumati and Samudragupta lived happily. Samudragupta went to other countries to earn more money. After the departure of her husband, Vasumati had fallen in love with a Brahmin. She lived happily with him. After some time, her husband returned. He did not have any suspicion on her. He loved her as usual. Though she was getting love and affection from her husband, Vasumati could not forget that Brahmin. She sent a friend of her and asked him to meet her at a secret place. On receiving the intimation, the Brahmin was going to the spot at midnight. The soldiers hit him with an arrow, thinking that he was a thief. Then the Brahmin had fallen on the ground and was crying with pain. At that time, Vasumati went there. The Brahmin was going to die. Vasumati came to him and thought that he was pretending to sleep. So she went near him and embraced him. At that moment, her nose was touched his mouth. As she died immediately, it remained in his mouth. She could not take it back. Hence, she tried to take it back by force. Then her nose was cut off. So she kept a cloth against her nose and reached home. Later, she disclosed that her husband had cut off her nose. Her husband was astonished to hear her words. The neighbors blamed him and took him to the king and reported the incident. The king believed her words and ordered to put her husband in prison. Then the soldiers came to the king and narrated the story of the Brahmin. They also produced the corpse of that Brahmin. The king saw the nose in the mouth of the corpse, so he asked his soldiers to remove it from his mouth and place it before the people. From that evidence, the king found out the culprit. As a punishment, he ordered Vasumati to leave the country. At the same time, he released her husband from the prison. "So we should not believe ladies," said the second parrot. The king heard both the versions and could not give a reply to them. "Now, Vikram, tell me, which parrot was right and which was wrong?" asked Betal. "All men will not do such offences, but ladies will not bother about the sin that is going to be attributed to them. So the female parrot is wrong," answered the Vikram. Betal was happy to hear his answer. Do you like the story? Please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much. The stories of Vikram Betal. The story of Padmavati. There was a beautiful town by name Tanjapuram near the bank of the river Gangas. It was ruled by Pratap. Padmavati was his wife. They were blessed with a son. His name was Vajramukha. His minister was also blessed with a son. His name was Sadbuddhi. He was perfect in all aspects. Vajramukha and Sadbuddhi were good friends. They could not leave each other even for a minute. One day, Vajramukha went for hunting along with Sadbuddhi. As they were tired, they had some water from a lake and were relaxing under a tree. Then a beautiful lady came there along with their friends. Her beauty fascinated the prince. That lady was also impressed by his appearance. She had fallen in love with him, but she did not want to reveal her love to her friends and to the friend of the prince. So she took a lotus flower from her head, kept it on ear, and then held in between her teeth. Later she pressed it with her leg. Again she took it in her hand and placed it on her breast. She showed those gestures to the prince only. After giving a signal like that, she went for swimming along with their friends. Later they went to their home. Since he returned from hunting, Vajramukha was in a very depressing mood. Sadbuddhi observed it and said, "Dear friend, why are you depressed? If the depression is relating to the woman you have seen in the forest, you should be happy as she invited you with signals." The prince was puzzled and said, "Friend, on what basis do you talk like that?" Then Sadbuddhi said, "Dear friend, I observed her. She gave you some signals secretly, but you could not understand the signals. I will explain the meaning of the signals to you. Please listen to me." She had taken the flower from her head and kept it in her ear. By that, she told you that she belongs to Karnapuram village. By keeping the flower in between her teeth, she expressed that she is a daughter of a powerful person. She pressed the flower with her leg. That indicates the name of the king was Kalinga. Later, she had kept the flower on her leg to indicate her name as Padmavati. Afterwards, she pressed the flower to her breast. That indicates her desire to embrace you. So don't be disappointed. She too wants to meet you. Be happy, everything will be alright, said Sadbuddhi. The prince was extremely happy to hear his words. Later, he proceeded to Karnapuram along with Sadbuddhi. There, they stayed in an old woman's house. They offered some money to her and had asked her to go to Padmavati and meet. The old woman went to Padmavati and said, "The person you saw at the canal had come to our town along with his friend. He asked me to inform you about his arrival." Padmavati pretended anger on her and said, "Who is that? I don't know anybody. Don't come to my house." Within no time, Padmavati asked the old woman to sit in a basket, and then she had sent the basket onto the ground floor by tying a rope to the basket. Unable to do anything, the old woman came back and explained what had happened. The prince was very much disappointed and had looked at Sadbuddhi for advice. Then Sadbuddhi smiled and said, "Friend, she seems to be very intelligent, so she is sending the message symbolically so that others may not understand them. She pretended that she did not aware of you in front of the old woman, but at the same time she had suggested a trick to you. If you go and move the rope there, she will pull you up. So you try this today itself." As his friend advised, the prince went to her palace and moved the rope. Padmavati came out and pulled him up. After spending there for a few days in the happy company of Padmavati, his friend Sadbuddhi came to his memory. Then he said to Padmavati, "See dear, I will go and come back within a day or two after seeing my friend." But Padmavati had a doubt. She thought, if I allow him to go now, he may not return. So she simply denied his proposal to go. The prince was very unhappy, hence he was not showing much interest in her. Soon Padmavati realized that Sadbuddhi was an obstacle for their relation. Hence, she wanted to get rid of the obstacle. She wanted to keep the prince with her. She decided to accept the proposal of the prince to leave and gave him a packet of sweets to him. She told him to give the sweets to Sadbuddhi. At the same time, she asked him not to eat even a single piece. She further said, "You go and come quickly along with your friend also. He can also stay with us." The prince was happy. On the next day, he went to the old woman's house. Sadbuddhi was very happy to see his friend. The two friends were in deep discussion. The prince explained all the incidents that took place and gave him the sweets. Then Sadbuddhi asked, "Why did you tell about me? She wanted to separate us. That is why she had sent these sweets." The prince said, "No, she is clever and pious. She wanted to see and honor you." Then Sadbuddhi had taken a piece of sweet and placed it before a dog. The moment the dog had eaten the sweet, it died. The prince was astonished. He thought that one should not believe ladies. Hence, he wanted to get out of the fold of Padmavati. But he was in dilemma. Then Sadbuddhi was the prince and said, "My friend, it is not safe to stay here. More than that, you should not be disappointed. Let us take her to our palace. I have a plan for that. You act accordingly. As usual, you go to her and stay with her today. When she is in deep, sound sleep, you make 3 injuries on her breast and bring her necklace. I will see the rest." Then the prince went to her palace and brought the necklace. Afterwards, Sadbuddhi went to the burial ground in the guise of an ascetic and stayed there. He asked the prince to act as his disciple. Then he asked the prince to show the necklace to the people and bring the person who claimed the necklace. Then the prince took the necklace and showed to everyone of the town. The king heard about the necklace, hence he called the prince and asked about the price of the necklace. The prince replied to contact his master, who was in meditation. The king approached Sadbuddhi and asked to give him the necklace. The Sadbuddhi said, "O king, we are not interested in the value of this necklace. We are living here for the last several days. Your minister's son used to come here to eat the dead bodies. Yesterday your minister's daughter came here and had eaten a dead body. At that time I hit her with my weapon and took the necklace. But she escaped from me. If she stays in your country, it will not be good for your country. As it is a sin to kill a woman, you just leave her in the forest by folding her eyes." Saying so, he handed over the necklace to him. The king returned to his kingdom, called his minister, and asked him to whom did the necklace belong. The minister recognized it and said, "It belongs to my daughter." Then the king narrated him everything and got her breast checked. The minister was shocked to see the wounds. As he was unable to reject the command of the king, he took her immediately to the forest and left her there. Afterwards, Sadbuddhi and the prince came to their original appearance. Later, they met Padmavati in the forest. On the advice of Sadbuddhi, the prince took her to his kingdom and lived happily. After narrating the story, Betal asked, "Vikram, you have heard the story. Now tell me on whom this sin falls." Vikram smiled and said, "Betal, the prince loved her as he was in young age. As the prince was beautiful, the princess too loved him. The minister's son, Sadbuddhi, helped the prince as a friend. The king had sent her to forest without making any inquiry. Hence, the sin should go to the king, as he was the guilty." Betal was satisfied with this answer and left him. As usual, he hanged on to the tree. Please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you so much.